Yeah, well, I said on social media at full time, I was like, Nagelsmann will be absolutely furious with the way this game ended
Mm,
because, that'll piss him off more than anything else, the fact, the manner in which
yeah.
they capitulated in the second half. And I think it's really interesting the way that they did do that and the kind of reasons behind that. I mentioned that there's specific tactical issues or morale or, player selections from the bench and stuff, but there's also just a simple fact of experience. This team
Mm,
doesn't have Manuel Neuer, doesn't have Thomas Muller, Gundogan, Tony Cruz. These guys have all retired in the last 12, 18 months. And, you know, while many of them maybe wouldn't have been playing, starting the game, like, I wouldn't expect Gundogan to start or Thomas Muller.
yeah.
Maybe, Manuel Neuer doesn't start the game because Nagelsmann wants to give some other players game time. There's still huge personalities. Like this game is the kind of game that you would want someone like Thomas Muller to come on and just kind of hold the ball up, or just kind of take some pressure off and play some defensive foot or to kind of run the lines. Someone like Gundogan or Tony Cruz. I thought it was really interesting actually the way that the German players kept getting riled up by what was going on. There was little spats with Kleindienst, there
Mm,
was spats with Rudiger, Kimmich kicked out. I thought it was quite lucky actually, to be perfectly honest with you. He kicked out at one of the Italian players on the sideline. And to be fair, that is something that it's not the first time it's happened actually this season. We talked about it after a Champions League game recently, where it's like it's one aspect of his game that maybe doesn't make him the perfect captain in a lot of these situations where he is prone to kind of getting riled up in moments like this. Um, but yeah, and I think it shows the challenge that Nagelsmann is having to deal with. Not only is he having to deal with the fact that a whole generation of players have now retired, a whole spine of that Germany team have now officially retired, but he's
mm,
also having to deal with the actual physical gap in his squad that they leave behind, and where he could have brought on a Thomas Muller. Or something like that, he's having to turn to an Amiri, or where he could have turned to Tony Cruz or Gundogan, he's having to bring on Pascal Gross. And
yeah.
that's not meant to sound, or Robert Andrick, I thought was pretty terrible when he came on. That's not to really kind of have a go at these guys specifically, but it just shows the kind of difference or the challenge that Nagelsmann has in terms of sheer quality, but also in terms of experience. And you just can't imagine something that's really happening with Tony Cruz, Manuel Neuer, whoever else
Mm,
on that pitch. Because you're right, at times it did look like Ta was kind of flailing. I thought it was quite suspect for this. I mean, Kane's second goal.
mm,
Ta just kept backing off and backing off and backing off, and to be fact, bringing Rudiger off in the second half, I don't know if that was an injury concern or something, but that seemed really bizarre as well, to be perfectly honest with you.
yeah.
And like even Schlotterbeck, who I thought had such an outstanding first half, and then there's a whole penalty claim about him in the second half, and that just kind of shows the kind of fragility of his game as well, where he can look like a world class centre back or left back, whatever you want to call him tonight, but he still has that ability to kind of flip on a moment's notice. Um, but look, all things being equal, they would have a Kai Havertz in there. They would have a Florian Wirtz in there.
Mm,
Pavlovic maybe is in there as well
yeah.
if he's fit. And there are some big names that Nagelsmann chose to drop because of whatever reason you want to call it, whether it be form or whether it be whatever else. But guys like Anton at centre back, Julian Brandt was dropped, Serge Gnabry. These are big names as well. I don't think he has to justify not picking them because I think they all have had poor seasons, to be perfectly honest with you. But
Mm,
I think the fact that Leroy Sané started both of these games is quite telling of the kind of issues that maybe Germany have in certain positions. And it's something to keep an eye on because, yeah, it's all well and good saying, oh, if everyone's fit, Germany's starting 11 is fantastic. You can rival anyone. But as we know, international football doesn't really work out that way. It usually comes down to who your third choice centre back is or your second choice striker. And that's
mm,
usually what gets teams like France over the line in these tournaments because they have got two squads worth of world class players to a large extent. And
yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see how Nagelsmann kind of negotiates that and kind of moves around it in the next kind of 6 to 12 months because there are positions that you can see there are players that he likes and he's trying to nurture them. Angelo Stiller is a perfect example. Um, but yeah, I think tonight showed that when he turned to the bench, he didn't have probably the options that he would have wanted to kind of see this game out.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. I think actually the one name that comes to mind that would probably helped in this game would have been Pavlovic, right? Because
Mm.
his ability to just slow down a game and put his foot on it, and similar to Stiller, right? And I mean, Nagelsmann said after the game, some of our guys were just not able to go for more than 60, 70 minutes, so he had to make these substitutions. I look at all the other UEFA Nations League results, and they're all bonkers. So, that might also be part of the story also might be, Spain needed to take Netherlands to penalties, France needed to take Croatia to penalties, Portugal only beat Denmark after extra time, right? So Germany was actually the only country to go through in regular time. It's been tight, and I think what I'm trying to say is too, this is the time of the year when a lot of these guys can't go full because there's so many games, right?
Yeah.
Like we're playing competitive national team games in the hottest phase of the club season, right? Whereas in the past, this would have been like maybe some World Cup qualifier against Albania or something like that. No disrespect to Albania or Luxembourg, or you get what I'm saying. Like
Mm.
where a country like Germany could have maybe gone like, yeah, you know what, 50, 60%, we'll win 1-0, we'll get bad press, but who cares? We get to win the game, right? Now they're like facing Italy in a game that they have to win that has World Cup qualification on the line. And on top of that, too, I just read that this has also had something to do with the coefficient, right? Had Germany beaten Italy, they would have they would have jumped Italy in the coefficient rankings, which would have helped with the group stage draw next year. Of course, Germany has another shot at it because if they win the UEFA Nations League, that helps too. But what I'm saying is like you got to take these games now serious, right? And so the problem is if you don't take them 100% serious, what happens is what happens in the second half. Whereas in the past, Germany goes up 3-0 in a friendly against Italy, they would have been a non-aggression pact in the second 45 minutes because like everyone would have been like, it's just a friendly, it doesn't matter, whatever, we all go back to our club teams and who cares? It doesn't matter. But now it does. And I think that is maybe, games of consequences are better, but games of consequences at this time of the season, that's really hard, right? Because how do you juggle all of that?